Namaste, my beautiful queens. In this video, there will be no cards. And in this video, I want to talk about a story which is so well known that it's hardly possible to find someone who has not heard the name Joan of Arc. A young peasant French girl who appeared at the face of history of France and died horrific and brutal death. When I tell you the story, of course I will tell you why I have decided to tell you this story. But you, of course, can go and do your own research, because tens of thousands of books and researches had been done about this woman. But I will try to be short. She died when she was 19 years old, burned at the stake, blamed in witchcraft and heresy. She was only 19. What is the story of her short life? She was born in France, and at the time, the territory of France, it was the war which historians called 100-year war. The country was severely suffering in this war. Part of France was completely taken by English soldiers and armies. It was the war between France and England. Part of the France was completely occupied by English, and part of the France was completely, constantly suffering under constant attacks of the English armies and soldiers. So Isabella, Bavarian queen, the wife of the King Carl VI, who was considered insane, a year 1420 signs the pact with Englishmen. In that pact, it was told that the power after the death of Carl VI will go not to the son of Carl, but will go to Henry V, the King of England. So England wanted a full control over France. An English army was very strong, and French army failed battle after the battle, battle after the battle. In the period when all of this was happening, comes Joan of Arc, which was born in a little peasant, in a peasant family, but which were not very poor. And according to historians, she started to hear voices of Michael, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret. And she, in these visions, was told that she must go to Orleans, because Orleans was the only city not yet completely taken under the control of English army. So that's why she is often called the Maid of Orleans, or Orleans Virgin. And in these visions, she was told that she must go and she must lead the French army to the walls of Orleans and free the city from possession of the English army. After that, she has to make everything possible to make a Dauphin Karl a king of France, and she must free France from English occupants. This is what she was seeing, the visions and the voices which told her to do that. So in January 1429, she leaves home and she goes to the city, if I'm not wrong, Vaucouleurs or something like this, where she wants to meet the captain of the city, Robert. She wanted to meet a Dauphin, but she wasn't listened to. They just said, you know, what the hell are you talking about? They sent her back home. She went back home, but she comes back a year later. But when she comes back a year later, she predicts the fall of French army in the battle near Rouvray. And she was absolutely right about it. So after that, Robert, if I'm not wrong, de Bondicourt, something like this was his name, Robert de Bondicourt, he sent Joan to Dauphin. And she dresses as a man, and she has the letter to a Dauphin and a little group of soldiers. So she goes all the way to Karl and convinces Karl, of course, to make a long story short, she convinces Karl to trust her, and she probably was an incredible, she had incredible power in convincing. Imagine this young, absolutely young girl, a child, comes to Dauphin, to Karl, and convinces him that, listen, I'm going to lead the army and I am going to free Orleans, because Orleans was the only city, big city, which wasn't possessed by English army, by Englishmen. So somehow she manages to convince her. This is how they checked her. This is how they tested her. When she walked into the room, she was supposed to recognize Karl, the one she will make later a king. And instead of him, they put another person on the throne, and Karl was standing in a crowd. But when Joan walked in, she recognized him immediately, and she came straight to him and didn't even go to the throne. So after she had a talk with Karl, she convinced him, and he agreed to help her to get to New Orleans, and she convinced him that she will make him, she will do everything. This is her goal, this is her mission, to make him a king. So he believed her, and she was tested by people from church. Of course, they were testing her this way, that way. You can read about it in doing your own research. So anyways, she was given an army, and she was dressed as a man. She was driven, dressed as a man. She was given an army, and she started her journey to Orleans. It was considered impossible it was considered absolutely impossible to free Orleans, because Orleans was in a circle. People of Orleans were still trying to fight, but it was considered hopeless. It was the only city which English army needed to make fall and under their control. After the fall of Orleans, the English army would have a free pass to consuming control over France completely. So April 28, 1429, led by young girl Joan of Arc, they went to Orleans, and of course, to make a long story short, it was a victory. It was a victory, and Orleans was freed. You can imagine that no one could do it before her, and everyone considered it was not possible. But Orleans was freed, and it was triumph of Joan of Arc. After that, she freed other places on her way. You can also look into it. She was freeing one place after another: Saint-Lô, Augustin, Tourelle, so on and so on. She was wounded 8 of May 1429, and of course the victory of French army, one after the other, really made a huge change. So army, the whole country believed that now freedom from Englishmen is possible. So they gave her the nickname the Maid of Orleans. After that, after celebrating the victory of Orleans, Joan, or Jeanne in my language, she went to the city of Tours to Karl, proclaimed the victory. She was met by whole crowds of grateful French people. Everyone wanted to touch her. Everyone was praying to her. Everyone was singing her name, so on and so on. Karl met her with a lot of honor. Karl put her next to himself, gave her the title, and so on and so on. Anyways, to make a long story short, Karl was, I'm not going to tell you all the victories she had on the way, but at the end, what happened is Karl was crowned, and Karl was proclaimed the King of France. So really, it was very beautiful, you know, splendor, incredible coronation. Everyone was joyful and happy. The entire, imagine this 100-year-old war. Finally, it was the wind of freedom. So all the celebration got all over France, and coronation happened, and crown was put on the head of Karl in Reims Church, and she was standing next to her King Karl, dressed in as a knight in shining armors, with a flag, with all the things which would proclaim her as victorious. So, what happens next? What happens next? Joan wants to free Paris. she wants to go and free Paris. But Carl becomes hesitant. He becomes hesitant, and Joan decides to go there herself. Unfortunately, unsuccessfully. May 23rd, 1430, she was captured, and then she was given away to her enemies, to Englishmen. She was sold for 10,000 golden coins to Englishmen, to her enemies. How about Carl? How about the man she made a king? What did he do? Did he run to save her? Did he do something? Did he try to do something? Everybody knows the story. No. No. Carl didn't do absolutely nothing. He was silent. He was silent. Joan was held in absolutely horrific conditions, but Englishmen, they couldn't just kill her because she was the reason of freeing France and them losing this beautiful land. They couldn't just kill her because she was a hero in the eyes of many people, considered almost saint, a legend. So English didn't want to just kill her. They had to destroy her images, we can say so. So, of course, what else? She was blamed in witchcraft and heresy, and she was supposed to confess in her connection with the devil, and so on and so on. They kept, like the condition, they kept her, no one would survive even 3 days. They kept her for over 6 months. They tried to trick her this way and that way and that way and that way. But she would not confess. She would not confess. None of the tortures, and of course Inquisition methods are well known to everyone. Inquisition lasted over 500 years. And many hundreds of thousands of people were burned at the stake by the Catholic Church. But she wouldn't confess. She was 19 years old. Did Carl do anything? Nothing. Carl didn't do anything. So there was the bishop whose name was Pierre Cauchon. And he was considered very skilled in making anyone confess in connection with the devil. He used to be a bishop of Beauvais. So he was promised if he makes her confess, then they gonna give him this and this and this and this wealth. So, unfortunately, miracle didn't happen. Joan d'Arc was burnt at a stake. She was proclaimed guilty in heresy, in witchcraft, in connection with the devil. And she was burned alive. But even when she was burning alive, age 19, she wasn't asking for mercy. She held herself extremely calmly. And she, till the very end, didn't want to believe that Carl betrayed her. He did not interfere and try to save her. So she started this whole thing when she was 16, and she was burned at the age 19. 25 years later, they proclaimed her saint. I'm sorry, they proclaimed they were wrong. No, 25 years later, Joan of Arc, good name was given back to her, because after 25 years, France was completely freed. But the movement to this freedom, she was the one who started it. So, why am I telling you this? This woman is an example of so many women following her nowadays. There is this one man, Carl, who is a dolphin and has pretty much zero chances to become a king and to free France. Comes this young girl and frees the country, gives him the country, puts him on a throne, put a crown on his head, fights for him. He gets everything because of this one woman, this girl. But when she gets captured and being blamed in heck knows what, he stays silent. He doesn't do absolutely nothing to save a woman who gave him free country, a crown, a throne, and his kingdom. She was canonized as a saint. But, you know, why am I telling you this? She gave everything. She sacrificed everything. She fought. She gave it all. But the man who she done it for didn't do absolutely nothing when she was burned at the stake alive, proclaimed guilty in heresy and witchcraft and her connection to the devil. This is only one of the stories. Now there are thousands of the stories which are less tragic as Joan of Arc. But the question is here is this: why, when you help someone rise from the bottom to the top, when they are on the top, they start hating you and they try to destroy you. A good human being, a good person could not understand that. But I see it, I read it in the letters for 100 letters a day. When a woman gets this poor guy who sleeps pretty much on a railway station, he gets him home, she shares home with him, she feeds him, she helps him get into the university, he graduates the university, she takes a loan so he can start his business, he starts a business, she connects him with the people. When he's on the top, he starts hating her and wanting her to be destroyed. Normal people would ask why. Or I will give you a simpler story. You found out that this person, this woman, she lost her job, her husband left her, and she got sick. She got very sick and there is no one there with her. You leave your family, you sell your car, you come to the hospital to her. You spend there 6 months helping this woman to recover. When she recovers, she does everything possible for people to believe you're a nasty piece of shit. Sorry, my language. Why? Why we are being paid with such horrible ingratitude from people we help or sacrifice everything for? I will tell you a very simple answer. Because because you saw them being down. And you were the one who helped them go up. And you are a reminder to them that you were the one who helped them to get there. And they don't want to be reminded about it. They want to tell everyone that they achieved everything themselves. They want you to be destroyed, gone. Seneca and Nero is another example. When Seneca given everything he possessed to Emperor Nero, Nero took it and said to Seneca, now I order you to kill yourself. If you don't want to be killed by my people, if you don't want to be executed, because Seneca was already very old, you have to kill yourself. So what is the conclusion? I don't tell you don't be compassionate, don't help. But I want you to remove from your vocabulary the word sacrifice. Because many of you somehow think and somehow believe that if you sacrifice everything to this man, if you give everything, your last drop of blood, your heart, your everything, then it's not possible that this man would betray you. So please remember Joan of Arc, a 19-year-old girl burned at the stake. And a man she gave kingdom, throne, crown, freedom of his country, didn't say a word or move his finger. He could have. He didn't want to. So if you decide to sacrifice yourself to someone, please fully realize that if you do that, there is no guarantee that this person, whoever this person is, a man, a friend, someone else, there is no guarantee that this person will not betray you. Please don't sacrifice yourself. I don't tell you be evil and cold. kindness, compassion, care is what holds this world from being destroyed. But learn to treasure yourself. And if you decide to do something for someone, if you decide to sacrifice, please understand, the one you sacrifice everything for can be the King Carl, who let a woman be brutally killed after she gave him everything. Do not sacrifice yourself for nobody. Do not sacrifice. It's not a guarantee of nothing. But if you sacrificed for a person who is less than good, then after you bring them up on the throne, they will want you to be gone and destroyed, because you are a reminder that without you they would never be there. Please treasure yourself. Please treasure yourself. Please treasure yourself. Your emotions, your heart, your time, your intellect, everything about you. Do not sacrifice yourself. This is what I wanted to talk about. Thank you for listening. Namaste.